Nikkiema Rai, and I'm a sexological bodyworker and somatic sexologist. And oh gosh, I just love working with all kinds of humans, and mostly I find myself working with people who are in relationships who want to develop deeper connection both to themselves and to their partners, through lack of libido or lack of time and not prioritizing that for themselves. So I help people really reconnect to their bodies and their partners' bodies in really beautiful ways.
I'm Stella Topaz. I do erotic education and I do scar tissue remediation, meaning I work with people's physical scars. The people I work with, or the expertise I bring, is often around people going through some kind of transition in their life. So it might be a body transition, could be aging, premenopause, postmenopause, could be surgery, could be a surgery that's not wanted, such as removal of an organ, or surgery that's associated with some kind of emotional pain as well. So it might be surgery from an injury or an accident, or a need from the body, or a life-changing incident. And it could also be chosen surgery like gender affirmation surgery, or other kind of body modification surgery that's chosen by the person. Other transitions are often things like people moving out of a relationship and going, I want to choose differently when I start having lovers again, or I don't want to repeat those patterns. Or it could be people going into relationships and saying, I notice I'm bringing some stuff into this relationship that I actually don't want to repeat, so I want some help to change what I bring in. So there's lots of different ways of having transition. I think that's kind of what I see as my main interest area. Often queer-bodied people and trans and non-binary people. Because I'm queer, I tend to be visible or attract people who know that I'm a kind of queer literate, queer safe kind of person to see.
And what was the biggest or the most important change that Sexological Bodywork brought for your personal and professional life?
Big question. Well, it kind of took everything I knew and flipped it on its head. I was working in the corporate world previously, and now I work in the sexuality world, and they're about as far apart as you can get. And I remember starting my transition into this world as a profession, and part of that was being at the intensive of my training for sexological bodywork, and in the last couple of days had a real fear. I had a fear in my body of going back to an office that was a very corporate space, and there was not connection to nature, and there was not connection to bodies or other people, and there was not permission for self-expression and sexuality. And I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? How am I going to go back to work? And it was really pivotal for me that it's a different pathway that I need to take now. So it wasn't like immediate, I didn't hand my resignation in that day, but it really just flipped that whole life path for me coming into this work. Yeah, absolutely.
I think Sexological Bodywork has done deserves several Sexological Bodyworkers for me too. It was before and after Sexological Bodywork. And for you, Stella?
Well, my background has largely been in nursing, and I've mainly been a sexual health nurse or a women's health nurse or working in queer health. So I've kind of had access to wanting to help people with their bodies a lot over my whole career, and also touching people's bodies in kind of intimate ways. But what's flipped for me through sexological bodywork was realizing I could work through pleasure rather than through illness and prevention, or it's actually like, I'm actually working with bodies for pleasure. I'd done some courses pre-sexological bodywork in kind of sex and kink and play and Tantra and queer kind of bodies, and then I was like, I love this on my own body. I want to do this for other people. And I got the confidence through doing sexological bodywork to be able to do it for other people.
That sexological bodywork brings us a frame, a safe frame for develop the pleasure, the boundaries, all. It's amazing because when we think the freedom we don't imagine that the freedom needs a frame, needs a container to be free. And I felt for me, Sexological Bodywork hold the safe space, then I could develop myself and bring this to my clients too. And it's different for each person. That's so beautiful, the Sexological Bodywork.
Really.
And how one kind of methodology can help people so different. So may I ask you both to leave your final message? What do you like to say for the people who is watching us?
The biggest thing that I would love people to take away is that this gets to be a choice. And we get to make a stand for ourselves and our pleasure. And sometimes previously we haven't been aware that there's a choice there. So if you can just take away that you absolutely do have a choice, you can choose curiosity and exploration and pleasure, and you can find pathways to continue stepping into that choice repeatedly. And it's just a matter of being aware that you can make a choice, can open up the whole world for you. And then you get to make that choice for yourself and like continue following that.
For me is that you can take those pleasure journeys wherever you are. Like you might be actually in a hard time, or you might feel like I've got to deal with my grief or my trauma, or I've got to deal with this before I can work with pleasure, but you actually can do them at the same time. So you can utilize pleasure and comfort and a secure environment. You can utilize that for those other things as well. They don't have to sit separately. You can do talk therapy and body work. You can do grief and pleasure. You can really find those things, and not to feel like you don't deserve to do this because you've got to do the other hard stuff first. No, you don't. You can do it together. Thank you for asking.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.